Right guys, now we're looking at a picture here of the Providence Road Night Refuge. One of the nicer places you could end up in Whitechapel. It was a hell of a lot better than the DOS houses and the workhouses because this place was run by the church. A place that had a great deal of funding. So here you get your own bed, you get clean linen, you get good food, and you get looked after by the matrons. Now, if you can look very closely at this picture here, you can see it says women at the top there, and it still does. It's not anymore a refuge for the poor, it's actually, well, unless you consider students poor, because that's actually housing for the London School of Economics. But on the 26th of September 1888, the day the letter was delivered, a woman had actually been kicked out of Providence Road for breaking two of the major three rules, and these three rules were no drinking, no smoking and no fornication. I'll let you decide which one she broke. She's had to go back to her abusive boyfriend, a man called Michael Kidney, who lived down round the corner at Dorset Street, and by the 30th she's out on her arse again, trying to find somewhere to sleep. Now this woman's name is Elizabeth Stride, and I will tell you more about her down the very Dickensian looking Artillery Passage. But before I take you down there, my friends, I have to ask this question, and it always pains me. Is anybody here a fan of Harry Potter? Put your hands in the air. And anybody else is just in denial. Because Artillery Passage was actually where they shot the scenes for Nocturne Alley in the film The Chamber of Secrets. But I think you know me well enough now, I'm not going to say Wingardium Leviosa, I'm going to say, let's go. So, Elizabeth Stride, the first of our ladies who's not actually from London. In fact, she's not even from England, because Elizabeth Stride was born in Sweden in 1843. Now, by the time she's about 20 years old, she's actually been wrapped on a prostitution charge in Gothenburg and decided she's going to try and move away from Sweden and try and find a better life. Now, a friend of hers told her to come to London because apparently the streets were paved with gold. But when she got here, she turned out the streets were paved with crap. Nevertheless, she actually tried to make good on her life. Got an honest job as a servant for a series of Jewish tailors. But apparently, her alcohol problem was a little bit bigger than that. And she ended up losing her job. Also as well for sleeping with her boss. So she's out on her ear and in the East End. But she's trilingual by this point. Because she can speak her native Swedish, she can speak English, but now also speaks Yiddish, the language of the Jews. So it gives her more opportunity to pick up more customers, but also claim for alms. Now on the 30th of September 1888, she's gone around a series of places of worship claiming for alms, begging for alms. Now she's gone down to Christ Church Spitalfields, the big white church we just stood in front of, and told him this story about how apparently her husband and her children had died in a boat crash and they didn't buy it. So she goes down to the Swedish church in the City of London and they don't buy it either. But when she gets to the Sandy Row Synagogue, which you're all standing in front of, they actually give her sixpence. Now, instead of doing the right thing, finding herself a doss house and getting some night's sleep, she ends up going down the pub. And she goes about 35 minutes in a southerly direction down to Wapping. Actually to a place called St George's in the East, and a pub called the Bricklayers Arms. She then proceeds to spend her sixpence on getting very, very drunk. Now, about 12 o'clock or so, she's seen in the company of a man heading in the direction of a place called Berners Street. Now, like I say, it's 35 minutes away from here. I'm not going to take you there, but I can show you, in comparison, what it looked like now and then. Now, around about 12:30, she's seen outside the entrance a number 36 at a fruit and veg shop owned by a guy called Matthew Packer. Apparently, her and her gentleman suitor buy a bunch of grapes, a very exquisite and very expensive fruit. But by 12:45, everything's gone a little bit sour because they're seen outside the entrance of Dutfield's Yard, just here. Her and her customer are having a bit of a spat because this is viewed by a man called Israel Schwartz. The man tries to drag her into the alleyway. She resists. He punches her in the face and turns around to Israel Schwartz and goes, "Oi, Lipski!" A very offensive term for a Jew. So Israel runs away. Now, you're not run now. Right, now by 1 o'clock, another Jewish man has made his way down Berner Street just here, and his name is Louis Demschutz. Now, as Louis has come down and brought in his pony and trap into the Duckfield yard just here, next to number 40 Berner Street, his pony shies and refuses to move. So, he tries to get on, come on you little bugger, move. But as he's doing so, he notices there's someone laying down in the entrance to the yard. So, he first thought, because he can smell the gin off this person, that it's his wife, and she's got herself absolutely blind drunk again. So, he decides to kneel down. Make sure she's alright. Shakes her. Nothing happens. So he goes into his coat to strike a match. And as he strikes that match, and it lights up the yard, this is the face that looks up at him. But because it's such a wet and cold night, the match is extinguished. All we know is it's the body of a woman, and she's had her throat cut. Terrified it's his wife, he runs into number 40 Berner Street, and luckily finds his wife next to the old Joanna singing a few communist songs with his friends. But there's still a body out in that yard, so he gets all of his friends out into the yard. There's been another murder, boys. But when they go out to the yard, they come across the face of poor Elizabeth Stride. Now, like I said, she's had her throat cut from ear to ear. But that's it. No abdominal mutilation. No attack on her sexual organs. Maybe our boy Jack's getting a little bit lazy. I doubt that. What I think has happened is Jack has been disturbed in his evil work. That when Louis came by with his pony and trap, that Jack is hid in the darkness of Duckfield's yard. That maybe when Louis knelt down and struck that match, if he'd only looked up instead of looking down, he would look right into the eyes of Jack the Ripper. As soon as Louis run inside, it's giving Jack all the time he needs to escape before the Met all converge on that point. Is Jack going to go home, put his feet up, have a cup of tea? He's killed once tonight. I doubt that as well, because he hasn't done his evil work. He needs to go and find fresh meat. And he knows just the place to find it. A place that is still very dark, full of ladies of the night, and a whole different police force to thwart. And that's where I'm going to take you guys now. So guys, I want you all to imagine now that you're all going to step into the shoes of a Victorian detective, because we're going to play a very ancient game, my friends. We're going to play a game of Hunt the Ripper. Is everybody game? Yeah. Let's get to it.